Okay. I seen last night Hawkins talking about, there's a story about Hawkins. He's this guy that kind of like is out there, but at a cost. You know, the cost to be out there and continue to be out there.
Yeah.
It's like he was like the real life version of what's his name, Rod Serling. Rod Serling and Rod, and then the other Rodney Berry, you know, Star Trek. You know, these guys had, you know, at least they could write about it and live their life. That was important, to live their life. The other people who got involved in that level of thinking went to the other side and decided that, you know, they could figure it out and bring it back into reality and have it work. The first guy that they threw out there was the guy who did the television, right? Stupid stuff, right? He's desperate. That's the worst time to do what you need to do, when you're desperate. And he came up with this idea and got fixated in it. So fixated that it didn't matter, he was going to do it. And he did it. So all these people come along and then you show up, the theorist, starting it all over again, right? It's amazing to know people like you know. I never envisioned meeting and talking, having conversations with people like you. Serious stuff, man. I used to look at this in the library, 5, 6, 8 years old, reading this. Said, damn, you know, who writes this kind of stuff? Holy shit, what are they talking about? It don't make no sense at all. But yet and all, it's in print. It must be of value. Somebody took an interest.
A lot of things in print are completely bullshit. I would say.
So I open up the book and look at what's in the book here. Whatever, get to the place of interest, right? You get to the place of interest, and somehow or another, if you're thinking, you go back and start all over again, because now it's interesting.
Right.
Interesting in so much as notations, as the structure.
Yeah, people invent and reinvent everything.
But this structure basically has remained intact.
This structure?
Structure.
Which one?
Notations.
Notation.
Musical notations.
Even musical notation changed a lot.
They had to put other things in there, but the basic structure still has to remain.
It's not sense.
No matter what context it's in.
No, in 20th century there's so many unexpected forms of notation, John Cage.
It's still playing with the idea of notations.
Of course. Like grammar,
So I look at the notations here and I'm like too much into the other world now. I've gone over to the other side, strangely enough, and looking backwards at the same time and realizing the potential of what can be done. The notations, you can take the notations, stride them into a system, and come up with exact sounds. Can you imagine?
Not easy. For example, very few musicians.
No, I'm talking about the computer will do that.
Maybe, but
synthesize.
Yeah, but in order for the computer to do that, somebody has to think it.
Well, that's the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure somebody's working on it since it's so important.
If you know how to do it, then you can teach the computer to do it, and then the computer can do it.
So you can put any kind of old notation into the computer and get the way it should sound. Can you imagine?
Basically, it can be done.
That's what you're doing.
Hopefully.
Without really understanding what you're doing, somebody looks at it and come up with a complete idea.
Hopefully.
The completion of the idea is in this book here.
Sure.
So basically, this is like a bridge over the idea.
Over the abyss.
Yeah, just over the idea. It's the idea. You've got to find a bridge over the idea to get on to the next island, maybe get to the mainland, right? Once you get to the mainland, you have all this information. And once you have all the information, you'd be like a Hawkins, right? He's got all this information that's abstracted.
And a little more.
And then to know, then I say, well, you're doing this book here about architecture.
Yeah, architecture and art.
You're a master at it. But your living conditions does not prescribe to the reality that you envision. Why is that?
To some extent, otherwise I couldn't have done it. If I did it, that means that something in my living condition made it possible. Just.
Living on a lake in a designer house?
Yeah, it's not kind of stretching it a little bit, yeah.
Fifth Street?
No, for my position, in fact, I live very modestly, you know.
That's what I mean.
I'm not even full professor, you know. I'm what they call adjunct. Nice word, adjunct. Which means they don't have to pay me as much as they would if I was, you know.
So in case you go a little too wrong,
right. So
they can easily get rid of you. Right?
Right, I'm already kind of outside, inside, you know. The odd man in. The odd man in.
Interesting place to be, isn't it?
Completely. I mean,
Interesting place to be.
Absolutely. Because I'm not so assimilated so that I could be indifferent. No, I'm really an outside-in, you know, position, and that is the result. I couldn't have done such thing if I was totally assimilated, you know, with the institution, Columbia, blah blah blah. No, I managed to get out of Columbia, kind of pull out something that would enable me to do such thing. You see, with the minimum money, you know, money I don't go for it. I go for what I want to do and how to get what I need in order to do it. Basta. There I stop. So I do it in a very kind of modest means. And so I can be extravagant. I can do whatever I think is right. Not worried about anything.
How do you come by your source information?
Well, you know, I talk to people like yourself. I follow on my intuition, you know. When I pass this front, this storefront, how many years ago? 7 years ago, something, right? I saw what I saw. I thought, this man doing something interesting. So I walked in, started talking to him about his photo. You know, that's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the same I do everywhere in the world. You know, I travel
Mm-hmm.
India, Japan, Italy, France, Spain, you know, Austria. And I have friends and people with whom I keep in contact over, you know, continents over time. So I do many things in parallel, you see. I just had this exhibition in Colombia, this architect who died in 1930. But I said, this architect has affected the entire conversation until now. So I went around the world, I interviewed 12 important architects, world-renowned architects. I made a video with each one of them. And my exhibition is basically around these 12, you see, with some drawings, some books, publications, etc., etc. And it was in Portugal, and it was in Vienna, and the most important museum there called MAC. It was there from March till July. They extended it because so many people wanted to see it. Then he came here to Colombia. Colombia, I had a director of the gallery who made it less easy for me. He cut out things without consulting me, etc., etc. But I managed to get an interview in the New York Times. Not a small thing.
Congratulations, sir.
And now I'm negotiating with 12 different cities in the world, you know. Shanghai, Beijing, Madrid, Santiago de Chile, Zurich, Istanbul, Paris, to travel. The exhibition can easily travel because I have only 2 models and 2 original drawings from some architect in Portugal. All the rest is digital. So it's very easy to send it, it costs nothing. Low insurance, low cost. That's how I function. You see. Also, you see, I do things which are, same time, I do things which are historical, theoretical, but historical, but also things which are contemporary, completely contemporary. I don't make a distinction. I run all these things parallel. Parallels. And on top of it, I work with this great architect, Stephen Hall, who has one of the most interesting practice here in New York. There I go from time to time helping to choose, you know, because he has the habit of coming up with alternative projects for the same program, you know. So then I come in and I'm very quick. I say, this is it, forget about the rest. So 2 nights ago, I was 70 years old, I told you. So he heard about it and invited me for dinner, you know. Every day I celebrate it. Until the end of the month, I'm celebrating. Like the Queen of England, you know. So that's my modus operandi, meaning the way I operate is not just one thing, you see. Not just one thing.
The quick notation.
Right? Yeah, I published this music, you know, by this composer, who is a contemporary composer I met. He's Danish, but lives in Chile. And I met him because of the magazine, because he came to the launching party of the first edition. And I started talking to him. Then I went to some of his concerts here in NYU. Then I got this piece published. So I actually published a piece of contemporary music. Yeah, nice, no? And he's writing on it, yeah? So that's how I operate.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You have become